I have it in the safer over here.
You got it, yeah.
Okay, we're in the Sicha Hadran on the Rambam from Tafshim Mem Tes. We're in the Sicha in Sif Yud Zayin. The Rebbe is going to, we're at Mamish at the Sicha. Maybe we'll finish the Sicha this week. The Rebbe here, the Teichen of the Sicha, explains the difference between Mala, Ha'aretz, Deya, and Hilchas Tshuva. It doesn't add Kamayim L'Yom L'Chasim. And then in Hilchas Malachim, the Alter Rebbe, the Siyum of the Sefer, adds the words Kamayim L'Yom L'Chasim. So the Rebbe, now in this Sif, next Sif, will connect this to the beginning of Hilchas Yisei the Atayre, where it discusses Maisa Bereshis, Maisa Merkava first, and then Maisa Bereshis. What's the difference between these two in Yonim? Maisa Bereshis and Maisa Merkava. The Rebbe is Medayik and the Lashon of the Rambam in this. Let's see. Sif Yud V'hinei Kishem Shin is Bar Leil. Like we learned before in the Sikh earlier, Sif Yudalit, Sheklolos Achiluk, Ben Yemaisa Mashiach, Kfi Shem Biyachas L'Zman Hazeh. That's Molar, it's Deis Hashem. There's a level of Yemaisa Mashiach that we could sort of relate to today, and we daven and we mchake l'biyosai today. Then Yemaisa Mashiach Kamayim L'Yom L'Chasim, the Yemaisa Mashiach itself, not the way we get it today, but the emes agili of Yemaisa Mashiach. Bo gam bechiluk sheben ascholas v'siyum limud sefer hayad. So you see this, the difference in the end, and the seam of the Rambam, Hilchas Tshuva, which is towards the beginning. You see this difference also in the first few prakim of the Rambam. The first two prakim of the Rambam explains Ma'aser Merkava. After the second Perek, the Rambam concludes and says, the things that were explained there, B'shnei prakim elu, and these two prakim are k'moi tipa min hayam. It's like a drop of water from an ocean. Of what should be explained about this subject. That's the expression of the Rambam. A tipa min hayam, a tiny drop from an ocean. And over there, when he speaks about Maisa here, Maisa Bereshis, the Rambam talks about the Galgalim and so on. When Messiah here, the Rambam says, it's like a drop from a bucket. Not a drop from an ocean, but a drop from a bucket. Everything is meduyik in the Rambam. The Rebbe is going to explain, the difference between the term deli and yam, and the difference between the term tipa and mar. Right, so Chedesh Cheshvan is called mar cheshvan because of the drops of the rain. So the word mar means drops. And tipa is a drop. So what's the difference? And the difference is as follows. Here the Rambam uses dafka this expression of tipa min hayam. Move on, bepashtos. It's understood. Mimash kosav Rambam matzma. You can understand it based on what the Rambam himself says. Sha'af shegam inyonei ma'aser bereshis. The Rambam writes regarding the inyonim of ma'aser bereshis. Dvarim amukim heim. These are very deep matters. Aval einam ke'inyan oimek perek rishon v'sheni. It's not like Ma'aser Merkava, which are explained in the first and second perek. Ma'aser Merkava. Ki ma'aser bereshis in Yonei Abriya. The Rambam Taka explains in Yonim of the Briya. So the Rambam there explains in Yonim of the Briya not only pashtus in this world, but in different layers of creation and different aspects. Daimim tzemei chaim edaber, even more eish ruach mayim and afra, and deeper. But all these in Yonim, it's all part of the Briya. Hey mikbalim. So it's explaining the Eibishter in relation to a limited creation. Lagabe, Ma'aser Merkava, which are in Yonei Elokus. Ma'aser Merkava is explaining what's doing by the Eibishter. L'chein, habir the Ma'aser Bereshis, hukemar midli. Ma'aser Bereshis is just like a drop that comes from a bucket. What's the mashal of a bucket? Shekamas hamayim shebedli, the amount of water that's in a bucket, hibakbala. It's limited. V'ilu habir the Ma'aser Merkava hu k'may tipa min hayam. Here the Rambam uses the expression that it's like a drop that comes from the ocean. Sheyam meiral blikvol. Yam refers to water which is endless. This is the expression the Gemara says, Mayim she'en lem sof. It's the famous Gemara and the Halach and Rambam also regarding a person that drowned in the water. His wife cannot remarry unless the man surfaced somewhere. And you saw him. Why? Because it's Ma'im She'en Lem Seif, and it's possible this person somehow survived and came up somewhere in an island, somewhere on the other side of the world, and we don't know what happened to him. If a person drowns in a lake, in a place where you can see the beginning and the end of it. So because you can see the entire place, you don't know. If you didn't see him coming up, you could know that he didn't come up. But if it's Ma'im she'ein lahem soif, then she can't get remarried. So the expression
for the rest of her life, if it's a ship goes down at sea.
There's one of the sun, but there's a Teirim, there's a Fanim to be matter. But the Pashtus in such a case, it's called Ma'im she'ein lahem soif, and So this the expression of the Gemara Ma'im she'ein lahem soif, the Pashtus in the Gemara is just a borrowed term. It doesn't mean literally. The water of the ocean, however many miles it is, has a certain soif. So it's just a borrowed term of Ma'im she'ein lahem soif. But the Rebbe is taking this lashon of Ma'im she'ein lahem soif and using it in the sense of that it's really an expression of Ein Soif. So the expression of Tipa Minayam means that Ma'aser Merkava is also connected to something which is Ein Soif. And the Hara is an interesting Hara here, Hara 76. The Rebbe elaborates more on this expression of Ein Soif, even though it's something which is limited. Take a look on Hara 76. The water of the ocean is also limited. The Gemara in Haidiyah says, "Yoidin l'shayir kama tipis yesh b'yam." I don't know if today they know, if science figured this out, but the Gemara says there's a method of how you can measure how many drops of water there are in the ocean. If you measure the depth, the width, and the entire, and you measure the component, it can be measured. So why is it referred to? Why is this an example of Ein Soif? So the answer is like this: in addition to the simple fact, since this is so large, at least there's a borrowed term, and that's a simple pshat in the Gemara that it's being used as a borrowed term of Ein Soif. That's one point. But the Rebbe says no, it's not only a borrowed term. If this is how it's referred to in the Gemara as Ma'im she'ein lahem soif, the ocean is aliba de emes, an expression of the Eibusher's Ein Soif. Why is it limited? The Hagbala that you see in them, that's not what they really are. In this physical world where space is limited, you can't have an actual existence. That's Ein Soif. So therefore, within the existence of Olam Hazeh, it's as large as possible. But it's really an inyan of Ein Soif. There's different dugmai. There's a Maragma here to the Sikh and Chelik Tes, number 22. There's different dugmais that the Rebbe says this inyan. I think there's two examples where the Rebbe brings this to explain this concept. The Rebbe brings it when you get to Midas at Teferes. What's Teferes? Teferes is the combination of Chesed and Gvura. How could you have a combination of Chesed and Gvura that are opposites? Because when you have something which is Ein Soif, so then there's no stira between Chesed and Gvura. So the Rebbe explains, Ein Soif, aliba de emes, there's no Chesed and there's no Gvura. It's Pshitus. That's real Ein Soif, where there's no Geder B'chlal. In the world of Tziyur, where there are spheres, Ein Soif is expressed by the fact that there's a chibra between two opposites, Chesed and Gvura. But on the other hand, if I'll ask you, this is what Ein Soif consists of, the fact that Chesed and Gvura can coexist and work with one another, that's not what the true Pshitus of the Eibusher consists of. Within the framework of spheres, Ein Soif is expressed by the chibur of Chesed and Gvura. That's the mashal there. Similar to the Rebbe says when you get to the man. The man was also really an union of lechem and hashamayim. It's Ein Soif. It was a lakos. It came into a physical bread that they were able to eat begashmias, but it remained lechem and hashamayim. There was no psilis to it. It had all timim. It was something that didn't have the hagbolis of a gashmias thing on one hand. At the same time, though, it was gashmias food. So it's also an existence of an expression of Ein Soif within the framework of the gashmias world. Al derech zeh, the yam, when you look at a yam and you look at it and it seems like to our eyes Ein Soif. Why does it seem like to our eyes Ein Soif? Because aliba de emes, what the yam is, the ocean, is an expression of the Eibusher's Ein Soif. The pile within the framework of Olam Hazeh, it's limited in its miles and its space, but it's aliba de emes. This is the expression of the Eibusher's Ein Soif in the world. That's how the Rebbe is mazbeh this. It's massive. And it actually includes also the fact it's not only what we see above surface, but it also is the water that's in the depths, and that's even further Ein Soif. It's even further Ein Soif. And over there, what it says in the Gemara and Haidiyah doesn't apply to that. It doesn't include once it's connected to the Me'at Tahim, even if that also ultimately has to have a safe, because Me'at Tahim is also part of the world, which is yes, it has a safe, but it's still, you can't be Meshayah this. Okay, Akapanim. Yeah. Well, I don't know if there's a method how to count the water that there is in the Tahim. One of the Nekuda over here is when it says in the Rambam, this expression of Tipim and Ayam, it's Meduyik. Yam is an expression of Ein Seif. And that's what Ma'aser Merkava is. Okay, so let's see what the Rebbe says here. Right on the next page. Or at least in this page. This booklet here, it's on the same page. Okay. The Nimtza also comes out as follows.
How does that work out?
Me'evel Ayam.
Yeah, over there, probably it's.
What's the expression of Me'evel Ayam?
Yeah.
No. Yeah. Okay. V'nimtza kumtes hazeh. Shalimod Ma'aser Bereishis. Shigam is a royim chachmasa shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yidiyas Hashem. When a person studies creation, even Pashut in science, to study and see the energy, the power that there is in creation itself. So there's a tremendous chachma of the Eibishter you see here. That's a preparation, and this is somewhat leading up to the time when Malad Zeis Hashem will see in the world how it's the chachma of the Eibishter and everything. This is the beginning of this revelation of Mar Midli, a drop from a bucket. Tipa achas madli, one drop from the bucket. Okay, that's one Indian. You come to Mala, where the dli, it's not just a drop of the bucket, but it's a full bucket. That's when the chachma of the Eibishter in the world will be revealed. Everything that science is struggling to understand now, when Mashiach will come, it'll possibly be open and revealed to our eyes, and we'll see the chachma and everything in the world open right in front of us. There's actually a famous sikh in Chelik Tezvav with the Rebbe's Masber, how many different breakthroughs of science happened over there, as that it says by in Zoyar, when you get to the Mabel. Yeah, correct. It's Man Baal Shem Tov, and then soon after that, the development of science took a leap to anything that there was before. The development of science in Welt corresponds to the Gili of Teres Baal Shem Tov. It goes hand in hand. When the Eibishter Lakus is Nizgala in the Welt, it's also Megala the Keiches of a Lakus that's in everything in the world. But all of this, whatever technology and whatever science there is that we are aware of today, is just kemar midli, a drop in the bucket of a Sedzayim Mashiach had coming. We got legabi the science, but that the shafila just pushed it legabi the chachma was done Welt gufe. Then the limud Ma'aser Merkava who achone me'em v'dugmas hashlem is the kamayim l'yom achas. Then you have Ma'aser Merkava. That's a whole different story. Ma'aser Merkava is seeing what's doing was tutzach b'dei Eibishter, not be'erech b'yachas to the Welt. That's kamayim l'yom achas. Sha'aschali omnam boy from the tipim and ayam. So now we only have a drop from the entire ocean. Tipachas min ayam. Aval yidei zeh bo machkach l'shlemos the kamayim l'yom achasim loira k'moy glimale el kamayim l'yom achasim. Not just a full bucket of water, but like a full ocean that will be Nizgal Lasad Lavai that will flood the entire world, and we'll see a whole new Gili that will be the Ma'aser Merkava on a whole different level. This is the hasbeh for the two expressions of Yam and Dli. Now there was Ma'aser the other chelik. What's the difference between the term Mar and Tipa?
What's the difference? Ma'aser Bereishis.
Ma'aser Bereishis is the Dli, which is Mugbal. It's one bucket. The bucket, the chachma of the Eibishter in Welt is mugbal. Therefore, the mashal for that is water in a bucket. Ma'aser Merkava is bli gvul. The mashal for that is the yam, which is ein seif. Shloisav l'vaydi kaloshin mar betli and tipam min hayam. What's the difference between these two expressions? V'nigei l'dli b'ma'aser bereishis mar. V'nigei l'yam Ma'aser Merkava. It says the expression of tipa. So now, what's the difference? Hashimush b'tevas mar b'yachas l'tipa. What is the difference between the expressions on Mar in contrast to the term Tipa? Madgish, what it highlights is as Hanituk Shalatipa Ma'amayim Shebedli. The word Mar is a drop that comes out and is disconnected from the source of water where it comes from. Shalacheni Kras Mar. That's the word Mar. Meloshem Merirus. It's bitter. It lost its connection to the water that's inside the bucket. So therefore, there's like a bitterness that it feels that it's ein kleine drop for itself. That's the term mar. Schenken tipa. What's the root of the word tipa? Maloshin noitif. Serint. It's flowing. Over here, you see the connection. You see that this is something which is related to the source where it comes from. That's the difference between these two expressions, mar and tipa. Move on. Now, according to this, you could ask, mar midli. Regarding the dli, the Rambam uses the term mar. It's a drop that has no connection, that's totally disconnected from the bucket. And tipa minayam. And when he talks about the tipa, the drop from the ocean, he says it's a drop that flows from the ocean. So the question is, you would expect that it should be the opposite. If the ocean is limitless, comparing it to the bucket of water, so a drop of a bucket has some connection, some relation that it's flowing. You see how this drop has some connection to the water that's in the bucket. But one drop from an ocean, you're going to say that the drop is a tipa that's flowing from the ocean. A drop from the ocean, there's no erech b'chlal. So why does Rambam use the term of tipa when it comes to yam and mar when it comes to dli? So the answer to this is as follows. When you're dealing with a limited thing, limited existence, so because the thing itself in its source is limited by nature, so therefore whatever you see in it, every drop that you see of it, also represents a certain limited aspect of it. And therefore we hear the term mar is used, which means bitter, which means it's disconnected. Just like the source itself is a limited mitzias, every aspect of it that flows is also expressing only a limited thing. When it comes to a source which is unlimited, you look at even just one drop and you see that this is a drop that comes from a source that's unlimited. Which means that it flows. You can see in the drop itself that it's flowing from the ocean of water itself. Yeah. When something is coming from a source that's very powerful, that in every it's like the atom, right? The atom is a tiny piece of power. The atom is a moshel of Ma'aseh Bereishis, not really a moshel of Ma'aseh Merkava, but the atom is a tiny little thing. Aber in them licht, it's completely condensed in it. The energy, obligable energy that's there. So when a tippa comes from a source that's bligvul, it encapsulates in it the entire kaich of bligvul. The Rebbe explains it in simpler words. We can say as follows: Ma'aseh Bereishis, Ma'aseh Bereishis discusses the Eibishter, the Chachma of the Eibishter in the world, limited. The level of knowledge you have of the Eibishter, it doesn't take a person completely out of his whole definition of existence. What happens is when you start realizing Chachma of the Eibishter that exists in everything in the world, so it brings a certain meridus. What does this mean? Shenirta, this here the Rebbe is quoting over here, Lashon that Rambam says actually in Pirush Mishnayis. Shenirta la'achayrav, the person like falls back, he stands like bewildered, v'yifchad, and he's afraid, v'yideya shuber yikatan, he starts realizing how small of a creature he is. Shvela, afela chula, how low and simple he is. If you see the sophistication and the depth that there is, even the Chachma of the Eibishter in creation, it brings this kind of feeling of bitterness, of bittul. Kekli male busha kli like kli that's full of embarrassment in the presence of the Eibishter. That's one thing. That's Ma'aseh Bereishis. What happens when the Merkava of the Eibishter is revealed? That's something else. Now you're completely leaving the definition of existence of the world. Here the blue will of the Eibishter is revealed. Over here, the level of knowledge of the Eibishter that's accomplished through this, the person gets completely transformed and elevated into an existence of godliness. He gets absorbed into a whole new revelation, a whole new existence of Elokus. Therefore, the Rambam here uses the Lashon Tipa Min Hayam. He uses the term Yam. What you feel over here is Bligvol. When you reveal, the point that Rebbe is saying over here is when you reveal something, a little aspect of the Eibushin, the Chochmah, the Welt, but you still feel very, very far from the truth. So it opens up your eyes to see Epis Vas, who the Eibushin is, and there's a feeling of Meridus you have. It's not a feeling of Isalus. When the Bligvol of the Eibushin is revealed, so then what does this bring out of the person? It brings out a tremendous, like the person verliert sich im Ganzen. The Bligvol of the Eibushin is here. You become absorbed in Bligvol of the Eibushin. But then when it's not the Bligvol of the Eibushin, there's Chochmah of the Eibushin within the Metzias of the world. So it opens up your eyes to realize how small you are, but not this kind of this alus here. So here what happens is when you have the Bligvol of the Eibushin, it's not bitterness. Then what's revealed is the Kamayim L'Yom HaChasim. Let's just finish off with one order here, order 81. We had before in the Sikha that Rebbe connects us to Tefillah and a mikveh. So Tefillah Mechasim Shayach Gam B'Tipa. You could actually be toivel even in one drop. Shari Mayon, the halacha with a wellspring is Shekasher Matayim. The wellspring comes from the water in the time, which is Bligvol. As mentioned before, that water is Bligvol. On the next page, where is it?
Just turn over the whole thing. Flip it over.
Metar b'cholshu. The halach is a mayon, a wellspring. You don't need any shear for mikveh. Even at the kholshu is metar. Afila tipa achas. K'shekol guf behen. As long as whatever body of the item you want to toivel in it, it covers the whole thing. So it's kivin shenikeh ba tipa inyan bligvul shechelik min hamayin. It's connected. It's part of the wellspring. Therefore, it's metar the entire thing. Yeah, there's another interesting thing over here in the Shuli Agilian at the bottom. The Rebbe says, "Kivin shegam tipa achas." This is a physical fact regarding even just one drop of water. It's a time, whatever drop of water it is. Theoretically, that's what machshava yunis means. Theoretically, and the Rebbe adds, "V'yesh oimrim should be imenu eila shayach gam b'poil." That today, scientifically or with technology, you're able to actually do this. Efsher limshach esatipa shetiyah daka ma'oid at shetachasa kol kufay. You can take one drop of water and the layer of that water as thin as possible, and it'll be able to cover the entire body of a person.
It doesn't have to be connected, right?
It's interesting what the suffix over here is. Either theoretically, the point is water is not a solid thing. It's the water. It can be thinner and thinner and thinner. You can spread it and spread it and stretch it and spread it and even spread the entire body of a person.
Has to be connected to the
Either machshav yunus v'yesh that it's possible with poil. I'm not sure if this is interesting to this. Okay.
Yeah.
Has to be connected with the mind, right?
Yeah.